Welcome everyone, I am your lovely host Sebastian with episode 2 of the Draft League Showdown. Remember, these episodes are going to serve as a strategy guide or just as a help for you new and returning players on what to draft and how the meta is gonna change. Now the new games are just around the corner. We still don't know the full Pokédex, so my opinions are just based on what it has been shown right now and the stats of the Pokemon we know so far. Now the Critical Continental Cup does have its doors open for anyone who wants to join. This is the CCC 2023 format. Feel free to pause the video. The link to the Discord where all the prerequisites to enter will be in the description. So feel free to join our community. We are great. We love Pokemon. We love everyone. Without further ado, let's get started. This week we have a special Pokemon, specifically a special Pokemon for the Critical Continental Cup. It has been in almost every single playoffs whenever it was drafted, and it has also racked a lot of kills in the league. I am talking none other than good old Azumarrill or Pick-a-Blue or whatever you want to call it. At this point, we should just name it Royalty or the King of Draft League because it's been dominating every format or almost every format we've seen out there. But what makes it so strong? First of all, we're going to be combining it with a water type Terra type, which in paper it's already really good, right? It's only weak to electric and grass, and it's super effective against rock, ground, and fire. But in combination with the Azumarrill, it just becomes a menace. The multipliers start adding up, and it's already becoming a crazy damage outputting Pokemon, if you could say so. So pretty much the really good moves are going to be Aqua Jet, Liquidation, Play Rough, and maybe Belly Drum depending on what set and what your opponent is going to be running. But the main thing that makes Azumarrill so good is huge power. As you guys know, huge power gives it a multiplier, so its attacks hit harder. There is also opinions on other people that you could maybe running Play Rough and a Fairy type Terastallize, but I believe the multipliers you could get with the Water type Terra type are just crazy. So you're gonna be getting a multiplier for your Water type Terra type, and then you're gonna get a multiplier for your huge power just by naturally from your ability. And then you're going to use this in combination between Aqua Jet and Liquidation. Most of the time, I think you're going to be hitting Aqua Jet since it's priority and you're going to be hitting everything first. Azumarill's speed isn't the greatest, so unless you get Trick Room up, you're not going to be using Liquidation as much. But before we get going, there's another strategy you could use with Azumarrill is pretty much getting Belly Drum, combining it with the Citrus Berry. And that's just going to give you pretty much your attack and then just multiply it with your water type Terastallization and you're going to be unstoppable pretty much. Now, before I get into anything, I do want to talk about the new Pokemon Cyclizard because it does have this move called Shed Tail, I believe, which pretty much adds a substitute on the field and changes your Pokemon. So you can use Shed Tail, swap into Azumarrill, and just Belly Drum behind a substitute, which pretty much guarantees Azumarrill to get a Belly Drum out and just start dishing out a bunch of damage with Aqua Jet. Now the problem with this is that we don't know Cyclizard's stats, and there's also a new item called Mirror Herb that people could prep against your Azumarrill if they know you're running this combo. What Mirror Herb does is just it copies all your attack stats, or it changes not specifically your attack stats, but your opponent's stats. So if you Belly Drum, you also don't want your opponent to just copy your Belly Drum's attack stats onto your opponent's Pokemon. So that's something you need to consider. I don't want to get into this too much because we don't know a lot about this new Pokemon, but it's something that I've seen going around in the internet, and I thought it was worth pointing out, specifically in this case with the Azumarrill. Let's talk about partner Pokemons that actually work really well with the Azumarrill. And these are pretty much Pelipper and Raichu. These are standards. These have been used, I think, since I can remember, in combination with the Azumarrill. What's good about Pelipper is that it sets the rain up. So it adds another multiplier for your Azumarrill, right? So now you've got Priority Aqua Jet, right? With Choice Band, with huge power, and then an extra 30% damage with your Terrestrialization into a water type. You're gonna be dishing out so much damage that your opponent is not gonna know what to do. They could set up Reflex, they could set up all these things, but Azumarrill is gonna be dishing out so much damage that you may want to be running. Now, another strategy you could be running is that Pelipper also gets Tailwind. So if you really want to dish out even more damage with Liquidation instead of Aqua Jet, you could just wait a turn, set up Tailwind, and then make Azumarrill faster than any other team. Because remember, the thing that's really putting Azumarrill down is its speed. So if you manage to outspeed and hit them with a stronger water type like Liquidation, which can also lower defense, remember that, you're just golden. Not only that, but Pelipper also gives you a second option if you really wanted to Terrestrialize into water. It is 4 times weak to electric, but if you just Terrestrialize into water, it'll just be 2 times weak to electric. So it may be in some scenarios really a really good option to Terrestrialize if your Azumarrill doesn't need the extra damage. Now, Raichu has always been good. You can use Raichu to fake out your opponent and try and belly drum that turn. But it's mainly really used for speed control with Electro Webs. So you don't really need to have a Tailwind user. You just could fake out first turn, then Electro Webs. Raichu's fairly speedy. But another thing that's really important with Raichu is that it has something called Lightning Rod, which will redirect any electric type moves onto him and raise its special attack, right? And what is Azumarrill weak to? Electric. So if you have Raichu as a partner next to Azumarrill, you're golden. You got rid of one of your weaknesses. And let's say your opponent has a grass type Terra type. So Azumarrill is going against your grass type Terra type. Guess what? Instead of huge power, you could run Sap Sipper. Sacrifice a little bit of damage, get Sap Sipper in, Raichu next to it, boom, Azumarrill has no weaknesses. So that's something you can run, and something that you need to prep for and see before you go into battle. If you really need that huge power damage, or if your opponent has really strong grass moves to hit your Azumarrill with, well, just run Sap Sipper that week, and then you're immune to grass type moves, and then Raichu will take care of that electric weakness, and boom, all of a sudden Azumarrill is really strong. Now, let's say you don't have a Azumarrill. If Azumarrill was taken, what are other options you could run? The first option I thought about was Double Duck. This has been known to be a really strong duo, specifically with Pelipper, since it does get Swift Swim. It might not get in the amount of multipliers Azumarrill may get, but you will get double your speed in the rain and combine it with a Life Orb or a Mystic Water or something like that. You're gonna be Terrestrialize into a water type. You're gonna be dishing out decent amount of damage with Muddy Water if you want to hit double targets, or just like with Waterfall or something like that. So it's really nice. It also gives you control with Cloud 9 of your opponent's weather. So if you're going against other opponents that have like sun or sand or maybe even rain, you could cancel out those weathers, and it gives you a little bit more control. Now, there is another Pokemon that I think is a little bit better than Double Duck. Although Double Duck is really good, don't get me wrong. But if you want a truly a replacement for Azumarrill, and you also want those crazy multipliers, then Cloyster is your way to go. You already have your multiplier with Mega Launcher, so combine that with Water Pulse, and then just give it a Mystic Water, Terastallized into a Water Pokemon. Boom! You have another Pokemon dishing out a bunch of damage in the rain. It works the same as Azumarrill. Just put it next to a Raichu. Your electric immunity is gone. You won't be able to be immune to grass, but hey, one weakness is better than two weaknesses, right? The only problem with Cloyster is that you will need speed control. This thing is really slow, so unless you get Trick Room out, or unless you could outspeed with Tailwind, or control the speeds with Electrowebs or Icy Winds or something like that, you're not going to be doing too much damage. If you really want to do even more damage with Cloyster, you could add some choice specs to it. However, since it is really slow and doesn't have any priority moves to really hit hard, you most likely want Protect, so you can control the speed before in previous turns before you attack, if that makes sense. So I think Mystic Water is always the better option to go with. Now let's see some other support Pokemon that may work well with both Azumarrill and Cloyster, and these are pretty much redirection Pokemon. Now so far we haven't seen as many redirection Pokemon when it comes to Follow Me. However, we do have Rage Powder Pokemon, and these two are Jumpluff and Venomoth. Rage Powder, it just works the same as Follow Me. It redirects your opponent's moves to that target, and so what you can do is pretty much Rage Powder Belly Drum, or Rage Powder get an attack out with both Azumarrill or Cloyster. If we're talking just specifically about Jumpluff, it also gets the ability Chlorophyll, so you could be running a team with double weather, maybe sun and rain. So that gives you a lot more options, and it gives your team a lot more versatility. Specifically with just a lot more versatility, and your opponent will have a lot more trouble prepping for your team if you got double weather. It also gets Sleep Powder, so if you do get that Chlorophyll, you'll pretty much get priority Sleep Powders, and hopefully you land them and annoy your opponent with that. There's also the option for Venomoth, which also has Rage Powder as well as Tailwind, and the ability Shield Dust, which means secondary effects won't affect them, and so you won't be able to get Flinch, you won't be able to get your speed drop with Icy Winds or Electrowebs. It also gets Sleep Powder, so you can just Choice Scarf and Sleep Powder and try and overwhelm your opponent that way. And that's about it. I think that is my showcase for this week. Hope you liked it. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know other ideas you got with the Water type, Terra type, and what you want to see next. Remember, if you are liking the content, don't forget to subscribe, like the video. It really helps us a lot. And stay tuned for a lot more content on Scarlet and Violet. Bye bye.